Sometimes I think people get confused with what intention really is.
Okay. So here's my definition of intention. Getting clear on what you want. That's it. So now, sounds really easy, like to get clear on what you want. The problem is that when the analytical mind gets overdriven by the hormones of stress, we start thinking, I want this, but then I need it on this condition, so it can't affect this person, and I don't want to lose that. And if this occurs, then this is going to occur for this, and this is... That's not intention. That's trying to control everything in your life.
Confusion sounds like.
Well, what you're trying to do is say, I want this specific thing, but I'm not willing to lose any of these things or affect any of these people. It's got to land right here. The universe doesn't work like that. Intention is, you may say, I want a healing. I want a new job. I want a new relationship. Now, the moment you ask the question, the what if question, what would it be like to be in love? What would it be like to have a new job? What would it be like to be in a new relationship, to do whatever, to be healed? The moment you ask that question, the part of your brain called the frontal lobe, which is the crowning achievement of the human being, 40% of your brain is the frontal lobe. It's the workshop. It's the creative center. Frontal lobe has connections to all other parts of your brain.
Now we have three brains that allow us to go from thinking to doing to being. Each brain is its own individual biocomputer with its own anatomy and own circuitry, its own physiology and chemistry. They even have their own history as well as their own sense of time and space. Now your brain is made up of about 100 billion neurons. Nerve cells possess the unique ability to store and communicate information between each other. So your neocortex, your thinking brain, is the seat of your conscious awareness. You're listening to me right now with your neocortex. And what the neocortex loves to do is to gather information. And every time you learn something new, you make a new synaptic connection in your thinking brain. That's what learning is. Learning is forging new connections. And every time you learn something new, your brain physically changes. So you read a book on how to ride a bicycle, how to cook French cuisine, how to become successful, how to be a better parent. And your brain literally upscales its hardware to reflect a new level of mind.
The moment you ask an open-ended question, you speculate a possibility. The creative center turns on and it looks out over the landscape of the entire brain and begins to call up different networks of neurons that are stored in your brain based on something you've learned intellectually, knowledge, or something you've experienced in your life, like, well, I know what it is to be in love, or I know what it is to have a good job, or I read a book about it. And it begins to call up these different networks of neurons, and then it seamlessly pieces them together to create a new idea, a new vision. And when you put all those networks together and they fire in tandem, you'll get a clear picture in your mind. And that clear picture is called intention. Now, the more you have conditions, or the more you have specifics about that job, like for example, I want to make this amount of money more a year, I want to have health benefits, I want to have 3 weeks vacation, I want to travel, I want to work with great and unlimited creative people. That all is the elements that help to add to that vision. Now, the picture you get in your mind could be the word job, or it could be just an image that's personal to you. But the image then represents all of those conditions. So you can have several conditions that make up your intention. But once you see that picture, the next thing that happens, you start to live that dream. The moment you start to take that dream and it turns into a living motion picture, now you're in that imaginary place. Now your brain is no longer a record of the past. It's now, in fact, a map to the future. Now, most people stop at this level, but there's another level. Because once you have that intention, and I watched you do this, what makes the intention have life is when you combine it with that emotion. Why? Because your body is your unconscious mind.
The stronger the emotional reaction you have to some experience in your life, the higher the emotional quotient, the more you pay attention to the cause. And the moment the brain puts all of its attention on the cause, it takes a snapshot, and that's called a memory. So long-term memories are created from very highly emotional experiences. So what happens then is that people think neurologically within the circuitry of that experience, and they feel chemically within the boundaries of those emotions. And so when you have an emotional reaction to someone or something, most people think that they can't control their emotional reaction. Well, it turns out if you allow that emotional reaction, it's called a refractory period, to last for hours or days, that's called a mood. I say to someone, hey, what's up? You say, I'm in a mood. Well, why are you in a mood? Well, I had this thing happen to me 5 days ago, and I'm having one long emotional reaction. If you keep that same emotional reaction going on for weeks or months, that's called temperament. Why is he so bitter? I don't know, let's ask him. Why is he so bitter? Why are you bitter? Well, I had this thing happen to me 9 months ago. And if you keep that same emotional reaction going on for years on end, that's called a personality trait. And so learning how to shorten your refractory period of emotional reactions is really where the work starts. So then people, when they have an event, what they do is they keep recalling the event because the emotions of stress hormones, the survival emotions, are saying pay attention to what happened because you want to be prepared if it happens again. Turns out most people spend 70% of their life living in survival and living in stress, so they're always anticipating the worst case scenario based on a past experience. So then you say to the person, why are you this way? And they'll say, I am this way because of this event that happened to me 15 or 20 years ago. And what that means from a biological standpoint is that they haven't been able to change since that event. Well, every time they recall the event, they're producing the same chemistry in their brain and body as if the event is occurring, firing and wiring the same circuits and sending the same emotional signature to the body. Well, what's the relevance behind that? Well, your body is the unconscious mind. It doesn't know the difference between the experience that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're creating by thought alone. So the body's believing it's living in the same past experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And so then when those emotions influence certain thoughts, and they do, and then those thoughts create the same emotions, and those same emotions influence the same thoughts, now the entire person's state of being is in the past.
It doesn't know the difference between an experience in your life that creates an emotion and an emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone. So your body now, as the unconscious mind, is living in that future in the present moment, and you're beginning to epigenetically change your cells in preparation for that event. So then here's the condition, the caveat. That means then you can't wait for your healing to feel wholeness. You have to feel wholeness for your healing to occur. That means you can't wait for your new relationship to feel love. You have to feel love so your relationship finds you. It means you can't wait to have your new job to feel empowered. You have to be empowered by the thought of your new job. So we're switching the model around because most people wait for something outside of them to change how they feel inside of them, and when they feel better inside of them, they get relief and they say, I like you, you helped me with that. That's cause and effect. That's the old model of reality. What we're talking about here in the quantum model is cause and effect, which means then you are going to have to change how you think and how you feel before the experience occurs in order for the event to find you.
If you take a tuning fork, you have two tuning forks and they're tuned to the same frequency, you hit one tuning fork, the other one vibrates as well, because the vibration from one is the same resonance, harmony of the other one, and so that's called harmonic resonance, where two things vibrate at the same vibrational frequency. And so what's interesting about that is the brain takes in data, but the other thing that people don't know is the brain is broadcasting that data back out. So I say, oh yeah, I can put wires on your head and read your brain activity. And I go, yeah, and people, well, that's just a connection to the skin. There's a new way of reading brains. It's not, the one with wires is called electroencephalograph, electric reading of the brain. The new one is called magnetoencephalograph. So it's reading the magnetic fields generated by the brain. But here's what's critical. The probe isn't even touching the head. The probe is out here. Yes. What's the point? The point is this. Your brain is a tuning fork. If I send out a bad vibration, a bad vibe, it's not going to resonate with anything that's good out there. if there's something out there that has the same vibration as the bad vibe, which is really the image of the bad vibe, it will cause that to move, just like two tuning forks, right?
Yes.
So, interesting point. What comes into my life not by accident, but through harmonic resonance. What I'm sending out, I will bring back in. You're the one that's broadcasting the frequency. And when you do, it's the most fabulous thing in the world, because now you're the one that says, I'm not a victim of these things that I was attributing to other people. I'm the one that's creating it. Well, if you're the one that's creating it, then you're the one that can change the creation to anything you really want.
So if someone is looking for love, they're not, instead of looking outside, they're going to think about who and what they want in a person that they can fall in love with.
Exactly,
And
that's
those-
intention.
Right, okay, so those are the waves that they're putting out. That's the information that they're
Exactly.
putting out.
Now that information
Right.
has to have a carrier, which is they better feel love. I mean, if you're going to enter in a relationship with me and you want to be in love, but you're not bringing any love to the relationship, why would I want to love you?
Right.
You'd have to bring that. So like, if your personality creates your personal reality, and your personality is made of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. The present personality who's listening to this show has created the present personal reality called their life. So if they wanted to create a new personal reality, a new life, they would have to start thinking about what they were thinking about and change it. Starting to become conscious of their unconscious habits and behaviors and modify them. Now here's the key. They have to look at the emotions that they've memorized that keep them anchored to the past and decide if those emotions belong in their future. So most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality. That doesn't work. In other words, a wealthy person doesn't feel lack. You can't bring lack into your future. You can't talk and complain and blame and make excuses or go back to old habits and expect your future to show up. You have to maintain that state for a period of time so that your body catches up. A certain amount of will finally arrive there. And I'm happy to say that it's possible.